It is said Walt Disney came, saw, and was inspired by this castle in the Bavarian Alps. He patterned Sleeping Beauty's castle, the centerpiece of his fantasy land, on this real one in southwest Germany. It's called Neuschwanstein, and it was only one of 5 castles King Ludwig II of Bavaria built to feed his own obsession. Was the man who designed and built this 13th century castle for knights in shining armor mad? Well, consider that he built it in the 19th century, in 1864, when there were no more knights in shining armor. He lived during the time of Abraham Lincoln, but still Ludwig was out hiring theatrical designers to build him a castle 600 years in the past. Here he would try to escape into a fantasy world of Richard Wagner's operas. Here he could imagine himself the Knight of the Swan, the lead character in one of Wagner's greatest operas, Lohengrin. Ludwig was only 6 years old when he first saw Lohengrin, the Knight of the Holy Grail. The walls of his great parlor in Neuschwanstein, with their lavish illustrations of the Lohengrin saga, clearly demonstrate his growing obsession with Wagner's mythological world. When he became king at the age of 19, his first act was to publicly become the sponsor of Wagner, and he became directly involved in the production of some of his operas. Often, Ludwig had completed productions of his favorite operas performed here in the Singers' Hall for an audience of 1, the king himself. This hall was designed after a scene in one of Wagner's operas. Ludwig lived alone, never marrying, perhaps because no one could adjust to living alongside of him in a bygone era. His bride would have had to share his bedroom with the ghosts of yet another Wagnerian opera, Tristan and Isolde. He lived in the castle while it was being constructed, and he often came up here to Queen Mary's Bridge to enjoy the view of it. But the cost of building the castle nearly put his tiny kingdom of Bavaria into bankruptcy. A committee declared him insane and threatened to remove him from his throne. After an extravagant 26-year reign, marked only by his creation of Fantasyland castles, he died mysteriously by drowning. The castle was never completed, and Ludwig actually lived here for only 6 months. Here in the Thronsaal, no throne was ever constructed. King Ludwig II may have been mad. He almost certainly was an incompetent ruler. But his madness was his fantasy, and his fantasy, which can never be duplicated again, is here for all of us to experience. We're experiencing this fantasy because, Stacy Curtis of Seattle, Washington, you asked for it.